industry professionals, and students from over 30 colleges and universities presenting throughout the month. This past Sunday, we even hit over 6,700 people viewing our road trip website. We want to thank you all for helping us make this so successful and for being here today. New college tours and information sessions are held daily throughout the month of June, so make sure to follow us on social media at JumpSparkATL and our website, roadtriptocollege.org, to sign up for more sessions and to create your own personal road trip. And with that being said, let's get started. Our panelists representing Emory today are William Sagara from Admissions, Lauren Blazowski from Hillel, and Josh Millen and Eli Mars, two current students at the university. As our panelists are presenting, please feel free to enter your questions in the Q&A box, and we will leave plenty of time to answer your questions during the second half of the webinar. And with that being said, I'm going to hand it over to William to present about Emory.
All right, thank you, Jesse. Hello, everyone. Let me get my screen set up for you here so you can see me. Excited to be here, and I got to tell you, the energy is a little different because usually these information sessions would be on campus and there'd be a room of you ready to engage. And so today will be a little different, but I'll just pretend that you're right in front of me and we'll take it from there. And so again, my name is Will Sagara. I'm Associate Dean of Admission at Emory University in the Office of Undergraduate Admission. And believe it or not, this is my 9th year at Emory, so that's kind of crazy. In terms of some of the work that I do, so you have a sense of kind of my roles and responsibilities, I chair the Southeast Committee. So that means that I oversee all of the applications coming into Emory from the Southeast. And so if that's you, because I think that it is, then I'm looking forward to reading your applications and having conversations about the kind of great people that you are. I also serve as our liaison to our athletics department at Emory. And so if you're interested in playing any kind of sports at Emory or anything like that, I work directly with all of our varsity coaches and making sure that they understand what we're looking for from an admission standpoint to student athletes. And then I also lead all of our Atlanta community engagement efforts with the city of Atlanta and kind of Metro Atlanta as it relates to the Office of Admission. And kind of on a personal side, I'm also an alumni of Emory. I just recently, as of last month, graduated from Guizota Business School with a master's in business. And so I'm hoping that, you know, somewhere you're going like this and cheering me on. So that was really awesome. And I'm also a father of one and one on the way, and a husband, and love being at Emory and love being here with you today. So that's kind of a little bit about me. What I want to do today, again, is welcome you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for spending some time on a Friday to listen to us and to have a conversation about Emory. And I'm also thrilled to be joined by some of the other members of the Emory community. So Lauren, Eli, and Josh, so excited to hear from you all in a minute as well. And so what I want to do is kind of walk you through, one second here. Let me just make sure you can see my screen. One second. Okay. What I want to do is walk you through a framework for today of what we're going to talk about, so you have an idea of kind of how the conversation will flow. And so we'll talk a little bit about Emory's mission, and you'll kind of see that throughout the first couple of pictures that we're going to talk about. It's kind of embedded into some of the different messages. We'll talk a little bit about academic life on campus to give you a sense of that. We'll talk about Atlanta, of course, the city where we're located. We'll sprinkle in some information about the campus community, but I will let Josh and Eli really talk about that. And then we'll talk about the kind of the path at Emory once you're there, what that looks like. And then we'll, of course, talk about the admission process, financial aid, and things like that. And so that's the sense of the framework for today. And I'd like to really start the conversation by giving you a sense of what's important to us in the admission office from a mission standpoint. And so when I say this, I got to tell you, it resonates so much in the work that we do, that we believe that Emory is the place where you're going to come in and push some boundaries and ask some really, really tough and sometimes uncomfortable questions. But the goal is to create a better environment for all of us, right? To improve the situation around us. And so that's what we're all about, is really asking tough questions and really trying to improve the human condition around us. And so again, you'll see that through and through in our conversation today. And an example of how we do that, how we kind of take care of that mission that's so important to us, was back in 2014. So many of you may know, or you may not know, in 2014, 6 years ago, there was an outbreak of Ebola. And there were 4 patients that were brought to Emory's campus. And this was during a time that we didn't know a lot about Ebola as a nation, as a world. but Emory opened up its facilities, collaborated with the Centers for Disease Control, which, by the way, are headquartered on our campus, to really be able to successfully treat these patients and create a process where this became the standard of working with these types of deadly infections. So that's something that we're really, really proud of. It was risky, of course. In the moment, we were frightened and scared. Think about bringing these people to Atlanta and to the community and what that could really mean. And that was kind of frightening. But nevertheless, now looking back on it, something that we're really excited about. And it kind of speaks to the Emory attitude, I would say, the mentality, the spirit. And one of our nurses that was on that team for the Ebola outbreak said it best, is that, we had a choice to make as a community. Are we going to fear and think about what could go wrong? Or are we going to sit back and say, can we care? Can we actually provide care for these people and do what we think is right, because we have the tools and the resources? And that goes back to our core mission, right? We want to make sure we're asking tough questions, we're pushing the envelope, so to speak, and doing things that aren't always easy, but doing what is right. And so we believe that we're a globally recognized research university and a healthcare institution, right? And so now, especially today, it's more important than ever, as the Emory community and the faculty and the scientists and the staff, that we continue to work together, especially during this time of COVID-19. And so that's something that we're just really, really proud of. Public health is really only one of the areas where we really feel like we're combating a lot of major world issues. Another area where we feel like we do this really well is in our global ecosystems kind of program at Emory. And so the picture you're seeing here is actually a field study trip that was taken by Dr. Barry Brosi, who's an associate professor in our Department of Environmental Science at Emory. And so if you have any interest in the sciences, we're about to jump into a really amazing conversation about that. But Dr. Brosi is actually a leading research expert in bees. And what he focuses on specifically is their food production, kind of how that impacts everything related to food production, ecosystems, everything around them there, and understanding why they've been in recent decline over the years. And so his work is just one of the many examples on how Emory is really focused on sustainability initiatives on campus. Some other examples that you may have seen if you've been on campus, or if you know anything about Emory, is our commitment to sustainable building practices on campus. And so we've got such a large collection of LEED certified green buildings on campus that are environmentally friendly. When we're developing our curriculum, we're really mindful of how we do that to make sure that not necessarily that it's sustainable, but yes, that's important, but looking to make sure that we're meeting the needs of students in the areas of interest. So sustainability is one of them. The way that we procure food, we're buying food. How are we doing that? Is it sustainable? How's our energy and water conservation? I mean, these are things that we think about all the time. And all of these are examples that we believe that shows that Emory is a global leader on this front. And so environmental science is just one of the areas. Another area where we think we can really be great change agents and really push forward strong and challenging conversations. Another area, and one that's kind of close to my heart, given my experiences at Wayzata Business School, is through our social enterprise and research at Wayzata. And so this social enterprise center at Emory is really, really incredible. And I think sometimes people have a hard time understanding there's just so much that they do. And so let me kind of dive in and unpack that a little bit. And again, all this is core to our mission, right? We're just talking about the mission and how we execute that, we feel like, on a day-to-day basis. And so this program was really established to really kind of have a positive impact on society. But specifically from a business standpoint, we felt, well, first of all, we want to create better markets. Okay, so thinking about the business standpoint of it, really create stronger communities around us, and really help develop a strong set of next generation social innovators. And that's you, that's the students, right? And so since the program, since its inception, since it was created, we've had over 250 programs across the world that have been created by our students, whether it's coffee bean programs in Costa Rica or other things across the world. Those are just some small examples. But we also have an incredible accelerator program called Start ME. And that's a program where the Emory community, through the Social Enterprise Center, has helped over 200 local small businesses here in Metro Atlanta, specifically also in the Clarkston area. And so we're just so excited about what we're doing in the Social Enterprise Center, because it is a combination of business and kind of social good. And we know that that is something that's really important to our students and to our community as well. And so, of course, we're fortunate to have such an incredible and energetic group of students that want to be engaged and that want to help, right? But we also recognize that we also have tremendous faculty, right? And this tremendous faculty are the ones that are really helping guide our students in these conversations. And so a lot of our prospective students, when they meet us, if we were meeting in person right now, you might raise your hand and you might have a question for me and you would say, Will, I'm in high school right now. I'm really interested in doing research. I've done some research in the community and whatever my area of specialty is. And I want to know if that's something that I can really do at Emory. And the answer is absolutely yes. And an example of that would actually go back to Dr. Brosi, the professor that we talked about that has this focus on bees, and again, working in our Department of Environmental Science. Before everything related to COVID, we were having an in-person conversation on campus, and he was sharing some anecdotal experiences with us. And he talked about how he felt so passionate about the idea that teaching, okay, and research were not these separate things, but they were actually an integrated approach that we needed to take as an Emory community to make sure that you could do both. Okay, they're not separate buckets. It's one and the same. You have to be involved in both if you're really going to do this the right way. And so what was really great about hearing him say that was that he's someone that actually practices what he preaches. You know, every single year you'll hear a long list of students who will say, I co-authored a bunch of publications with Dr. Brosi in his lab, the Brosi lab. I mean, how awesome is that to be an undergraduate student, a first year, second year student, doing legitimate research with an incredible faculty member and their team on our campus? Those are the experiences we want to bring to you from an academic standpoint, outside of all the other amazing things that Emory has. And I can understand, you might be skeptical. You know, I'm always asking, well, you know, is that every faculty member? Is that truly the case that everyone is going to have that opportunity? I mean, Emory's got the CDC on campus. It's got the School of Medicine, the School of Nursing, the School of Public Health, the School of Law, the School of Theology, the Business School. We've got all these different opportunities to be engaged on campus. Are all faculty really feeling so excited about research? And the answer is absolutely. It's something that is core to us at Emory to make sure that that undergraduate experience is really a focus for all of us. And so, yes, research and that undergraduate experience is incredibly important to us. Something else that we also think is incredibly important to us is our partnership with the city of Atlanta. And so many of you know Atlanta quite well. And so I won't give you too many details that you don't already know, but of course, home to the busiest airport in the world. So super accessible, easy to arrive into Atlanta if you're coming from out of town. You know, from over 80% of the US airports, you can get to Atlanta within a 2-hour flight. I mean, that is insane. It's so easily accessible to arrive into Atlanta. And if you live here, if you've been to Atlanta, you know, we have incredible weather. We have all 4 seasons in Atlanta. Okay, so you're going to have the opportunity to have a fantastic spring, nice hot summer, right? A beautiful fall, which is my favorite time of year, and then a very mild winter. You can't beat that, okay? Incredible food, and if you'd see me stand up right now, you'd see that obviously I indulge in that way too much, but you'd see the food. We're a city of neighborhoods, right? And so there's all these different neighborhoods across Atlanta that have all these different personalities and food and cuisine and experiences. Of course, we're a diverse city, right? And so there's so much diversity in Atlanta, which is incredible. And then there's so many incredible professional opportunities in Atlanta. And you're saying, well, maybe Will, could you talk about those opportunities a little bit and maybe give me a sense of that? And yeah, I'd be happy to, right? And you know, Atlanta has the 3rd largest concentration of Fortune 500 and Fortune 1000 companies, headquartered here in Metro Atlanta. And so Coca-Cola here in Atlanta, Home Depot, and Delta, and UPS, and CNN, and Porsche, and MailChimp. And I mean, you see the list. They are here in Atlanta. And our Career Center, our faculty and staff work really hard to make sure that there's intentional relationships with our students, with our Career Center on campus, so that our students have that opportunity to really be engaged with those employers once they finish their time at Emory. A couple other things I just want to touch on before we kind of move on to the next topic, and I'll just touch on this very briefly because I know that Eli and Josh are going to talk about this in just a moment, is the campus community, what that experience actually looks like on campus. And so I just pulled off a couple facts of things that were interesting to our class that I thought would be really valuable for our conversation today, just really kind of overview topics. But 17%, this is great information, 17% of our students are coming from 85 different nations across the world. Okay, and so if you're just strolling through campus, you're going to see people from all 50 states on campus. 85 different primary languages are spoken on our campus. That is insane. 32% of our campus, 32% of our students on campus are underrepresented, and we have over 30 recognized religious organizations on our campus. So it's just really a place where we truly, truly believe that diversity is so important. And when we say diversity, this is what we're talking about, right? Because when you come to Emory and when you leave Emory, the world is going to be, not handcrafted for you, but it's going to be different, and you're going to need to know how to react to that. And we think that Emory is a great place where you can experience that diversity in a great way, where everyone is there for the same reason, to learn and to help and to move that mission forward. And so a couple of things I want to talk about before we jump into our final topic, which is admissions, is I do want to talk about the educational pathways at Emory. And so what you're seeing here is an illustration that talks a little bit about what your path would look like as a current student at Emory. So you've already applied, you've been admitted, you're a student on campus. What does that experience look like? And so the first thing is, when you apply to Emory as a senior, you're going to be given two opportunities to apply to one of our two incredible liberal arts colleges on campus. The first one is the Emory College campus, and the second one is the Oxford College campus. And so as you can see here by the illustration, the Emory College campus in blue, it's located in Atlanta. It's got approximately 5,700 undergraduate students with a first year class of about 1,400 incoming freshmen, okay, first year students. And the average class size is roughly around 25 students. That experience on the Emory College campus is going to be a 4-year experience. And then right below that, you see the Oxford College campus in gold. The Oxford College campus is located in Covington, Georgia, which is about 45 minutes east of Atlanta, out I-20. Now, they've got about 1,000 undergraduate students in comparison to the Emory College campus, which has about 5,700. So there's a difference in size there. The Oxford College campus has an incoming first-year class of about 550 students. Remember, the Emory College campus has approximately 1,400. So there's a difference in size there as well. And the average class size at Oxford is going to be around 20 or so students. And so it'll be a little bit smaller on that campus as well in terms of the size. The Oxford College campus is a 2-year experience. And so you're there for your first 2 years, as you can see kind of on this illustration on the chart. And then after those 2 years, everyone at the Oxford College campus will automatically transition to the Emory College campus for their last 2 years. So the junior and senior year, third year and fourth year, however you'd like to say that. And so now you're in your second year, about to go into your third year at Emory. Whether you started at Emory or Oxford, you're on the Emory College campus in Atlanta, and you've got to make another decision. And that decision, which is illustrated on the chart here, is, do I want to go to Goizueta Business School? Do I want to go to the School of Nursing at Emory, or do I want to go and remain in Emory College? And so in terms of going to the business school or the nursing school, you would submit a formal application. And they'll be looking at information based on your time at Emory in your first 2 years, prerequisites, grades, all of those things, extracurricular activities. Or the other option is, if you choose not to go business or nursing, you can participate in any of our other 70 majors or 60 minors that are available on campus that are part of the experience in the college. And so that would be things like, as an example, neuroscience and behavioral biology, anthropology, human health, economics, or just a plethora of the other pre-professional opportunities that are available at Emory. And so we also feel like there's just a really robust offering of general education requirements that are infused by our liberal arts curriculum too. So there is a lot to choose from an academic standpoint. And this is just kind of a quick snapshot of what this would look like through your 4 years at Emory. The last thing I want to talk about, which will be quite lengthy, will be our college application process. And so if you're a junior or senior in high school and you're thinking about applying to college, I kind of want to share with you what this admission process looks like for us and kind of dive a little bit deeper into that. And so as you can see here on the screen, there's a variety of things. Let me try and kind of bring us into a center of understanding of what we're looking for. So I'm going to break this down into 6 different things that are important to us. The first one is going to be curriculum, and this is not in any order. Curriculum, test scores, GPA, letters of recommendations, extracurricular activities, essays. Those are all kind of things that we're looking at in this conversation. And you should know that we read applications holistically, and also be very aware that in this time of COVID-19, with everything going on right now with testing and SAT, ACT, and health and schools being open or closed and extracurricular activities and just things not being normal, right? To what you're used to from a college application process standpoint, that we are very much well aware of that. And we just want you to know that we are fully aware there's a lot of stress out there, and we are very much thinking about you in this process and going to be doing everything we can to be as flexible as we can in these conversations. So please, we're not here to add any extra stress to your life when it comes to these topics. We are just here to make sure you're aware that we are aware of the challenges, and we know this year is going to look a little different, and that's okay. And so talking about this process, I just want to walk you through these 6 things in detail. And hopefully during the Q&A, we can have some really great conversations about any of the things that you're unsure about. And so let's jump off and talk about curriculum. First and foremost, this is a holistic review process, which means that we look at everything that you sent. We start reviewing applications at the end of October, early November, and we finish our application process and reading usually in March. And your application will be reviewed multiple times, I dare to say probably 4 to 5 different times by different teams of people in the office through our committee-based evaluation process. And again, that's part of our holistic review. We look at everything you send. Curriculum is probably the most important thing we will look at. And by curriculum, I mean, are you challenging yourself in the context of your school? What does your school offer? And in the context of what's offered at your school, did you take challenging classes? And so, for example, if your school offers AP classes, did you take AP level classes at your school? And if so, what did you take? And if so, how did you do? Right? Those things are important to us. If they offer an IB curriculum, same set of questions. Or if what they offer is dual enrollment, or what they offer is honors level curriculum. Whatever it is that's the most rigorous level of courses at your school, we would like to see you take some of those classes and show us that you have the ability to be successful in those types of classes. So there is no magic number. Oftentimes students will say, well, my school offers an AP curriculum and I need to know how many I need to take to be successful. And my answer is it's going to depend from school to school, because many of you attend different schools and different things are required or available to you at those different schools. So there is no magic number as to what you need to take and when you need to take it. But if you were to walk away with something tangible from this conversation, what I would say is we want to make sure that if you have a specific academic interest in something that you really want to pursue, that you are certainly taking advantage of those types of courses on your campus. And so, for example, if you love the natural sciences, chemistry, biology, physics, things of that nature, we want to make sure that you are taking classes in those areas in high school and that you're doing well and pushing yourself in the classroom. That's important to us. And so from a curriculum standpoint, the takeaway is please make sure you're challenging yourself in the context of your school. Other things we look for is things like grade point average. And this one is important because you should know that we recalculate everyone's GPA when they apply to Emory. And so if you look on our website and you see some incoming GPAs for our first year class, know that that's a recalculated GPA. And how we recalculate GPA is that we start with the 10th grade year all the way through 12th grade year. So we do not count 9th grade GPA in our evaluation. We focus on 10th through 12th, focusing on academic core classes. And core classes will vary depending on the school, right? And so that is a case-by-case conversation. But just a tidbit for you to know about that GPA recalculation. Other things you should know about GPA calculation, of course, we'll call for senior grades. Of course, now with everything related to COVID-19, some of you might have pass-fail classes or grades have shifted around. Those are things that we're all keeping in mind very intentionally during this conversation. So please don't stress about that. But we're looking at things like your grade trends. Are they going up? Are they going down? How did you do in the classes that you're interested in pursuing, that kind of major that you want to pursue? Those are all things that we're being very mindful of in this conversation. Testing is another thing that we'll look for. And I just want to be transparent that our testing policy is currently being reevaluated because of everything related to COVID-19. And what I'm sharing with you right now is our current testing policy, but we will have a updated version of that testing policy very soon. But that is not what I'm going to tell you right now. Right now, I'm sharing with you what it currently is, but there will be an update to that in the coming weeks. Just want to clarify that. So our testing policy, we require the SAT or the ACT, whichever one you want to submit. We have no preference. We do superscore the SAT. If you've taken subject scores or AP exams, you are more than welcome to send those in, but they are not required. And so if you're saying, well, Will, which exam should I send in, and what's important to you all? Literally for us, it's just about whichever exam you feel the best about. Feel free to send us those scores, and we'll be happy to take a look at that in this process. And again, there'll be updated information on our testing policy in the coming weeks on our Emory website. So just keep an eye out for that. A couple other things I just kind of want to address before we close out this part of the conversation. Those first three things we just talked about, the curriculum, test scores, GPA, or more on the quantitative side. These next three things are more qualitative. And so, for example, we do look at things like essays. And so your writing samples. What topic are you choosing? What are you telling us about? How is your voice resonating in the essay? What are you sharing with us? We read these essays very closely. And on our website, our admission website, we have a student blog, which is an admission blog that students comment on, our current students. And we often will list essays that we loved. And so you'll see 5, 6, 7 essays right now on our Emory admission website of examples of essays that were great. And so that's a tip that I would recommend, because you'll look at those 5, 6, 7 essays and you'll see they're all completely different. But what we're looking really out of this essay experience is, since we don't offer an in-person interview, this is our chance to really understand what it is that you're all about. And I really, really strongly encourage you not to try and tell us what you think we want to hear. And I know that's hard, but we really want to hear what you want to tell us. And so obviously keep common sense at the front of your mind. And so stay away from challenging issues that perhaps may not be best suited for an essay. Stay away from things like profanity and poorly timed jokes and things like that, which I know that you won't do those things, but ultimately we're just trying to get a sense of who you are and what you're about and how you tie that into the larger narrative of things that you're interested in pursuing at Emory. And the last two things I'll talk about in terms of the admission process that are important to us. We do look at your extracurricular activities. Clearly, that's going to be impacted based on COVID-19. And so we will put a little asterisk by that, because we know that that will be different this year. But that is important to us, how you engage, what you're engaged in. And I understand that now with COVID-19, that will be very different. And so I just ask that you continue to push ahead in a way that you're comfortable. And that could be via Zoom, that could be engaging in things differently. But know that we fully know that that will look differently. But we just want to make sure that your energy is in the right place in terms of being engaged in things that you're passionate about. And we recognize, again, that will look very different this year. And finally, we ask for letters of recommendations. We'll ask for 3 letters of recommendations, 1 from your college counselor, guidance officer at your school, and then 2 teacher recommendations on campus from any teachers of your choice that are in high school. We would recommend academic teachers if all possible. And so if you'd like to submit additional recommendations outside of those 3, you are more than welcome to do so, but that is not required. And then finally, the last thing I just want to mention is talking a little bit about financial aid. Please, please, please look into our financial aid options at Emory. We work really hard to make sure that our families, students, communities know about the incredible opportunities available at Emory. We awarded over $200 million in financial aid this past year, and over 20% of our students were eligible for Pell Grants on our campus this past year. Over half of our students receive some type of need-based financial aid. And the things we're just talking about right now are just need-based financial aid. We have not even talked about merit-based, which talks about scholarships, right? And so we've got need-based components, merit-based components. And then what you're seeing here on the screen is an organization that we partner with called My Intuition, which will help you understand your need-based financial aid estimate that you can expect to receive in a very, very quick format. And so instead of going to a net price calculator or some complicated form, you can go to My Intuition, and in a series of handful of questions in 10 minutes or less, you can find out roughly what you could expect to receive at Emory from a financial aid standpoint. So I strongly, strongly encourage you to look at that as you begin this conversation with Emory. So that is what I have. I wanted to make sure that we were right on time, so I appreciate everyone listening to that. I'm excited that now you're going to hear from some of our students at Emory, so I am going to pass the microphone, so to speak, to Josh, and he's going to take it from here. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and Josh, I'll let you take it from there.
Hey, everybody. My name's Josh Milton. I am a rising senior at Emory. I am studying business and political science, and I'm happy to answer questions if anyone has any about either of those tracks. I'm from Bethesda, Maryland, And in addition to studying business and political science, I'm involved in a couple of things on campus. One of those is that I'm an admissions fellow in our Office of Undergraduate Admissions, so I help to oversee our tour guide program. I'm also a member of Emory's Interfaith Council, and that's a group of students who meets weekly to figure out how we can promote positive interreligious discourse on campus, make sure that everyone feels safe and feels comfortable with whatever faith they practice. I'm also a career management center coach, and so this coming year, I'll be helping students with resumes, cover letters, interview prep, things like that. And then I'll also be a teaching assistant for business law. And then, as you guys saw, there are two pathways into Emory. I started my time at Emory University at Oxford College. So I'm an Oxford continuee. I absolutely loved my time at Oxford. I really enjoyed those small classes, those opportunities to engage with professors. Another unique thing about Oxford is that because they're only first and second year students, you have early access to a lot of leadership opportunities. And so in my first 2 years as a college student, I was able to become co-president of our Jewish Student Union at Oxford. I was a student coordinator of our tour guide program there, and I was also a Spanish tutor. And so I've loved my time at both Oxford and the Atlanta campus. I think that the reason really that I've loved this experience so much is that for me, it was the best of both worlds. I got 2 years in that sort of small liberal arts college vibe, and then 2 years at this research institution. It's a bigger campus, it's in the city, a lot more going on. And so it's kind of been that best of both worlds. I also got to have that focus on political science along with this training and education and business. And so I've really loved my time at Emory. And again, if there are any things I've talked about so far you have questions about, I'm happy to answer those later on. So a little bit about my Jewish sort of life at Emory, I guess. Starting at Oxford, I mentioned that I was part of our Jewish Student Union. That was a really special organization. It was definitely one of the closest groups I had on campus, kind of like my second family. And basically, it was a group where we would celebrate holidays together. We'd get together every Friday for Shabbat dinner. We'd put on different events for the campus. So we had like an Israeli Culture Day. We had a Holocaust Remembrance event. And it was great because I was able to continue to be involved with the Jewish community. That's always been something that's important to me. And I was able to share my culture with others on campus, which was really nice. And to see that people were genuinely interested in learning about Judaism, learning about our practices, our traditions, that was also great to see. And so that was a group of about 15 students when we started it. Now they've swelled to having about 50 students coming to Shabbat dinner each night on campus. And so that has been definitely one of my favorite Emory experiences. And then on the Atlanta campus, I mentioned that I'm part of the Interfaith Council, and there I help represent Jewish students along with another student from Hillel. And we kind of just bring our input from the community and figure out how we can interact with other groups on campus. And so I've really enjoyed that too. And then I guess the last thing I'll talk about just kind of in this intro is one of my favorite parts of Emory. And I think it's that everyone at Emory is super multifaceted. So you're never going to kind of just find one person who's doing only one thing. People are following all their different passions, all their different academic pursuits, getting socially involved. So it's not uncommon to see people who are part of 3-4 different clubs, being active in those clubs and really making a difference on campus. And so I've really enjoyed my time at Emory, both on the Oxford campus and Atlanta campus, and I'm happy to be here sharing it with all of you. And with that, I'll turn it over to Eli.
Hello, everybody. How's it going? Good afternoon. Let me just set myself up right here. Hi, everybody. Thank you, Josh and Will, for speaking. Thank you to everyone for having me. It's an honor to be here. My name is Eli Mars. I am from Los Angeles, California. I'm going to be a rising sophomore, so I'll be a sophomore next year. I'm studying psychology in the College of Arts and Sciences, and I am thinking of going into the business school with a concentration in marketing. So to start off, like Josh, I'll tell you a little bit about what I'm involved in on campus. I did not go through Oxford, so I was on Emory's main campus my freshman year, which is this past year. I was an avid member of Hillel. I was there all the time. I'll get into my experience with Emory's Jewish life a little bit. But I am officially on the board now. I'm a vice president of first year engagement, which means I will be engaging underclassmen and all those people who aren't technically in Hillel yet, but are thinking of getting involved and want to grow Jewishly a little more in their college careers. I'm involved in Greek life, so if you have any questions about that, you can ask. I'm also was just named a tour guide this year. I went through the very hardworking process of learning all the facts and statistics and working with Josh, becoming a tour guide, which has been a great joy. I haven't given a ton of tours yet as the year was cut short, but I'm looking forward to it with that program once I head back. I'm a member of a couple clubs. One's called Table Talk, which is a club that fosters positive communication between different clubs and different groups with separate ideas. We help them come together and foster an environment of positive communication, which I think is important in a time. It's important now more than ever. Lastly, I'm a part of TEDx, which if you've ever seen TED Talks online or on YouTube, our branch on campus is called TEDx Emory, and we basically bring different speakers in. We hold a main conference every year, and it's just a great experience to see professionals on our campus talking about their lives and their life experiences and their life goals and bringing that all in. I'll talk about a couple of things. Will mentioned in the presentation this huge emphasis on diversity. First off, Emory has a huge Jewish population compared to other colleges, which was something that was huge on my radar when I was thinking about what schools I was going to apply to and how I was going to grow Jewishly, especially in college. I'll give a quick anecdote. When I applied to Emory, when I got in, my roommate, I decided to go random because I was a little late in the process, and I trusted the process with Emory, and I wanted to go random and see how it went. And I actually had a foreign international student who was from India, so he was not Jewish. He was not from here, so our childhoods, we both grew up with very different experiences in our individual environments. So that's one example of how great it was to see Emory's diversity in action. Like, for example, I showed up one time to Hillel, as I usually do on Fridays, and all of a sudden he was just there without any warning because he knew that I was Jewish, and attending Hillel and attending Shabbat every week was something that I love doing. And so he wanted to get a little more insight into my life and my values and my experiences. So seeing him there was just an eye-opening experience and reminded me that students at Emory's campus are diverse, but not only are they diverse in themselves, but they want to make themselves more diverse and learning about other people and learning about other cultures as well. Before I continue, I want to just say that I'm doing the Instagram takeover on the Jump Spark Instagram. So if I don't answer questions here, or you want to hear a little bit more about my experiences or see it again, you can hop on over there. I'll talk a little bit about applying to Emory because I know many of you, those are the shoes you are trying to fill right now, is the application process. When I was narrowing my list down of schools, I told myself that I really wanted a school with a positive Jewish environment amongst many other elements as well. When I was touring other schools, I could sense that the caliber of people was varying in different schools. I just think different universities foster towards a different type of student, but Emory being very diverse, I was very interested to see how this took place on campus. I'm sure many of you guys are involved with Jewish youth group or go to Jewish camp. So in my experience, I go to Camp Vermont. I don't know if any of you have heard of it. It's on my branch of the camp is on the West Coast. So I have gone to that camp for over 12 years, and my best friends and the people that I hold myself closest to are from that experience. And I told myself when I was touring colleges, I want to find the type of people at camp. I want to find those same types of people in college. So when I was touring all of the campuses that was on my list, and I finally narrowed it down, I realized, and what was ultimately the deciding factor between Emory and the last school on my list I was choosing between, was the type of people I was going to surround myself with. So I took I had visited Emory before, I did all the proper steps, I toured, but this final time, I went a second time by myself. I kind of took a day of the life with one of my friends entering on campus. And I just realized that walking around like that these types of students, the Emory students, were those I would want to surround myself with for the next 4 years. So I was actually on campus at the moment I decided to become an Emory Eagle, which is very exciting. So I just think my piece of advice to students who are applying now is that, of course, academics, of course, job opportunities, of course, research like we'll discuss is so important. I also think that college is the place you're going to live for the next 4 years. So for you to grow as a person, you need to know the people, you need to know the environment that you're going to surround yourself in. So I think when you're doing your college tours, when you're talking to people, really make sure you figure out what the caliber of people are on campus, because ultimately you will see yourselves in them and you will learn from them and end up growing. My last plug, I just want to talk about Emory Hillel a little bit. Stepping onto campus, I really didn't know that too many people. I'm coming from Los Angeles, which is ways away from Atlanta. And I think really the first thing I did when I got into campus was involve myself with Hillel, because the Jewish community and the Jewish people is something I'm familiar with, as I talked about camp before. So really the first event that I even did stepping onto campus was the welcome Hillel Shabbat. I was immediately welcomed. I really didn't know that many students entering my freshman year, but Hillel was really a great place for me to grow spiritually and grow as a person and grow my social network, because people day in and day out, every Shabbat, high holidays, all of the amazing events that Hillel throws. I was just meeting people all the time. It was a super great experience to be comfortable, create a tight network, and create this core, create a family that I could always rely on. It's people that even during this quarantine, I still text and call to this day. I also want to say that Emory Hillel is not the only Jewish option on campus. There are other programming such as Chabad Me'or. So if those fit your sect of Judaism, you can always go there. But I would also say that I involve myself in all three of them, just because why limit yourself to one? So Jewish life has been nothing short. It's been amazing for me. Really touched on everything that I was looking for in a college. If any questions, you can leave them in the chat. You can go follow the Instagram and follow me on the takeover. Thank you everyone so much for having me, and that's what I have.
Hi, everybody. My name is Lauren. I'm the Associate Director of Emory Hillel. Thank you, Eli and Josh, for giving such wonderful insight, not only to Emory, but Jewish life at Emory. I'm going to do a bit of a presentation, although I will admit it is very low tech and mainly just photos. And later after this presentation, JumpSpark will also share with you a YouTube video in which we actually have a virtual tour of our building that you can check out and all of that wonderful stuff. So I'm going to share my screen with you and I'll talk about the various aspects of Jewish life. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me or ask our students as well, as they're the ones really experiencing Jewish life on campus. And hopefully you can all see my screen okay. So like I said, this is a lot of photos, and I do want to preface my part of the conversation that a lot of what I'm speaking to is pre-COVID life. So while things might be looking different in the coming year, I'm just going to speak more to what Hillel has looked like in the past, and we're currently visioning and exploring what Jewish life will look like moving forward. So I'm going to touch on some of the main aspects of Jewish life. These are a lot of our welcome events. You can see this is one of the first Shabbats of the semester. Our building is full. And I'm going to start with Shabbat and holidays. Normally at Hillel, we have Shabbat every week. Depending on what's going on campus, we can have anywhere between 60 and 200 students, 200 likely being the first few Shabbats or Rosh Hashanah or Passover. You can see this photo down here is Passover. But I would say on average, it's usually 70, 80 students every week in our building celebrating Shabbat together. In addition to Shabbat, we celebrate all the Jewish holidays if we're on campus for them. Sukkot somehow always falls around fall break. So depending on where we're at with that, we build a sukkah on campus in front of Cannon Chapel, which is the multi-faith chapel on campus, as well as a sukkah at our building. This is actually a photo from, I believe it's from Oxford, celebrating Hanukkah, Purim, and Passover. So like I said, we're very student driven. So whatever our students are really wanting to do for specific holidays, if that means getting creative, staying traditional, and whatever aspect that is, we're really driven by our students. And I'm going to speak a little bit about our student leadership. I know Eli mentioned that he's the VP of freshman or first year engagement. This year we are having over 40 students in leadership positions, which means that we're engaging as many students as we can. And a big piece of Hillel's goal on campus is to develop our future Jewish leaders and give students the leadership skills and the ability to grow and learn in their own Jewish identity as possible. We don't do a ton of social programs. We have, as you can see, a lot of these are centered around food. And as you can see, everyone's smiling. So that's our biggest goal, is big smiling faces. And a lot of our social programs vary year to year, depending on what our students are looking for and what they want. Israel is a big focus of ours. It's one of our pillars of where we spend our time, and that means leading trips to Israel on birthright, connecting students to internship opportunities in Israel over the summer, doing Israel advocacy on campus. There's an Eagles for Israel club. We do Israel Festival and Israel Week. We bring various speakers to have different intellectual conversations, and we do an Israel Learning Fellowship. We have an Israel Fellow on campus, which means we have an Israeli who comes to spend usually at least 2 years with us, really bringing Israel to our campus, not only from their own perspective, but working with our students to help them drive our Israel connection. And we also focus a lot of our time on Tikkun Olam. We have a challah for hunger, which means that they bake and sell challah, and the proceeds go to various charities. We participate in Atlanta's Pride Parade every year. We do alternative spring breaks. This was a group of students who went to Houston to help rebuild homes, a group of students who actually went to Cuba a few years ago to do some work with the Jewish community there. Those are all my photos, but I'm going to speak a little bit more. So like I said, we have a lot of students involved in leadership opportunities. We do a lot of Jewish education as well. We have a Jewish Learning Fellowship that takes place over 8 weeks, where you tackle life's big questions. And we actually have students participating in that right now virtually. So as I'm sure you've seen with a lot of different organizations and places out there, we've really transitioned into a virtual space, and we're finding students really are seeking out and wanting a community and to be connected. And I think our students can speak to this too, that the piece that they love about Hillel and that they feel most connected to Hillel are the people they're with in the community and the way they feel when they're a part of the Jewish community at Emory, which I have to say is probably one of the most unique and strong Jewish communities on any campus that I've really seen. So that's all I'm going to share for now. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the Q&A or reach out to myself or any of the students to answer, and I'll throw it back to Jessie.
Great, thank you, Lauren. I'm going to ask all our presenters to turn their cameras back on so we can move into a little bit of Q&A. Great, let's pull up those questions. Okay, can someone talk about Jewish Greek life on campus, either sororities or fraternities, what you have of each?
I can start, and I can let the students correct me if I'm wrong, because there's always constant change in Greek life. There is an SDT, which is a Jewish sorority. And I would say in general, all of the fraternities and sororities have a large amount of Jewish students in them. So even if you're not in an inherently Jewish sorority fraternity, there could still be 15 people in there. There's also a SAMI, and I believe they're working on bringing a ZBT to campus this year as well. And please correct me if I'm wrong, students.
I can answer as well. As Lauren said, yes, there are those Jewish Greek fraternities. I'm in Greek life, but I'm not in either ones that she just mentioned. But I would still say that in my fraternity overall, there's a great Jewish population. And there's not just members who are Jewish, but there are also Jews who are avid in Hillel, and they want to bring that Jewish experience to the other members, whether Jewish or not. So like I said, Emory is very diverse, and people are always looking to grow and learn about other people's beliefs and their religions and etc. So I think even though my fraternity is not quote unquote a Jewish fraternity, there's still been a huge Jewish life. And I wouldn't have entered it if I didn't think I would be getting that Jewish dose that I definitely need, if that answers the question.
Great, thank you. Will, can you talk a little bit about the undergraduate business studies program? Do students need to apply? What does that look like?
Sure, yeah. So the model at Emory for the business school is a 2-2 model. So the first 2 years are spent in the undergraduate college, whether it's Oxford or Emory, in whatever discipline that you'd like. And if you're going to go business, you'll likely be pre-business in some capacity. And so that means you'll be taking some accounting classes or some finance classes, all those really amazing fun classes, right? You'll take those and then you'll apply to the business school at the end of your sophomore year. And I know we kind of mentioned this in the chat, but I'll just repeat it to make sure that the answer makes sense. The acceptance rate into the business school is typically 76 to 85% acceptance rate. That's as of last year. And so you apply at the end of sophomore year. You can apply a little bit earlier if you have enough credit hours. Sometimes that would manifest itself in a way where you brought in extra credits from AP exams or something like that in high school. And then once you're into the business school, you're in. But it typically happens at the end of the sophomore year. And that information is applicable whether you're at Emory or Oxford.
Great, thank you. This next question is for both of the students. Besides the great options for Jewish life at Emory, what other activities are you both involved in on campus, or what would you say are some of the clubs that a lot of students are involved in?
I think that one of the really big things on campus is service or volunteering. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but I know that a huge number of students are involved. I think one of our biggest clubs is Volunteer Emory. And so they lead weekly service trips that go to different charities and organizations in the greater Atlanta area. They have alternative breaks over certain vacations where they'll go to different cities around the United States, help out there. And so I think service is definitely common. And then I'll touch briefly on the business extracurriculars and kind of continue what Will was talking about in terms of some of the perks of the business school. But and this goes for other departments too, but it's very hands-on and they're always looking for student engagement. And so students have the opportunity to be TAs or tutors or peer leaders within their classes. And I mentioned I'm going to be a career coach. And so that means students, if they ever want help with any advice on like resume work or cover letters, that type of stuff, I'm always there to help them with that. And then one more thing I wanted to talk about in the business school sort of question is that they do a great job connecting you to professional opportunities. And so they will bring different companies to campus. They will bring members of those companies to talk and have information sessions and coffee chats. And so you get to chat with them, meet them, hear about what they do. They'll bring interviewers to campus, all that stuff. So getting an internship this summer was super seamless, super easy. And it was all facilitated by the school. But I think definitely volunteering, student activism, getting involved academically, helping other students is a big way that Emory students generally can get involved.
I would answer in my introduction, I talked about the various clubs that I'm a part of, but I would also add on to this question by saying that there are other opportunities on campus, such as academically. I'm only a rising sophomore and I've declared my major in psychology, and I've already gotten in contact with a professor who's joining, who's already doing lab work and needs undergrad students. And for me, that was a shock just to see how easy it was to just send an email and just to see the positive response in wanting undergrad students to take part in such higher up development research. So when I head back to campus, hopefully all goes well and I will be working in a lab within the psychology department, and just it being the start of my second year, it was just so easy to grab that opportunity. So I'm very excited about that. And it just proves that Emory, it has so many opportunities. You just have to stand up for yourself and be willing to go out and just search, because so many people want to help and so many people have different opportunities in every area and walk of life.
Great, thank you both. Lauren, this question is for you. It's a twofold question. Is there a Hillel or Chabad on the Oxford campus or only Atlanta? And also, what is Orthodox Jewish life look like at Emory? What options are there?
Sure. I can speak to Oxford, and I'll let Josh speak even more so. So as he mentioned, there's a Jewish student union at Oxford, and they get a lot of support from the chaplain at Oxford, who he serves all of the different religious groups on campus. But Hillel, I believe Hillel and Chabad both dedicate their time to going to Oxford, if that means making sure that we can prepare food for them and they can either come pick it up or we drop it off there, helping support them and, going there as often as we can. So while there isn't a Hillel on campus or a Chabad, we're often going there and helping to support them in their programs. And I'll speak to the second question was about Orthodox life, correct?
Yes.
And then I'll let Josh jump in. So I would say Emory is a pretty good campus in the grand scheme of the world for an religious life on campus. As Eli mentioned, not only is there Hillel, which is pluralistic, meaning we support Jewish students in whatever denomination or however they choose to live their Jewish life, but there is a Chabad and Meor, which both lean more towards that religious aspect. We are very close to the Orthodox community in Atlanta. You can walk there if you'd like, which means that there's a lot of access to kosher food, kosher restaurants. Emory also has a kosher meal plan in addition to the 3 Jewish organizations having kosher food themselves as well. So I would say, while there isn't a huge Orthodox or religious population at Emory, I don't have the exact numbers. If it's something that you're willing to work towards, it's definitely doable and it's accessible. And I'll let Josh jump into about Oxford.
Yeah, so I know we're running short on time, but really quickly, I think the Jewish community at Oxford is really special. And though we don't have that Hillel or Chabad on campus, it's super tight knit. As I mentioned earlier on, it was really some of my closest friends I made through JSU. During my time as co-president, we were super thankful for the relationships we had with both Hillel and Chabad, both in terms of them helping us out with food and events, and then coming to campus and helping us lead different events, giving us resources, connecting us to other organizations, all that good stuff. And so it was almost like, we were kind of quasi part of that group, and we would try to go once a month to have Shabbat dinner at Hillel or Chabad, celebrate holidays there. So despite not being physically on that campus, we still found a lot of ways to connect to the larger Emory Jewish community.
Awesome. I'm going to ask our final question, and this has been asked a couple times to the students in both and Lauren. What does anti-Semitism look like on Emory's campus? Have you experienced any? How is it handled? If you all want to touch upon that.
I'd love to let the students give their perspective first.
I can go if you want, Josh. I would say, look, this is the real world, and anti-Semitism does exist, and it does exist more than ever on college campus because students have all opinions and they voice them in whatever way they can. I would say that what I love about Emory Hillel and what I love about Jewish life specifically is that they've given me tools to combat anti-Semitism and to approach it in a respectful manner, because for most of my life, I've had my parents to rely on. I've had lay leaders from my temple and my camp, my youth group, or whatever. And so now it's the first time I'm on my own, and anti-Semitism is a very adult topic, and it's a very real problem. So I think being able to have the tools from upperclassmen peers and from the exact members of Hillel has been a really great experience for me. And I think it's really a tool for your entire life because it's something that I think I'll continue to experience. But I think the Emory Jewish life is as strong as ever. And I think that tight-knit community is why I'm so proud to be a Jew and so proud to be Jewish. And I'm not afraid to take anti-Semitism at all.
Yeah, I definitely want to echo what Eli said. There are so many people who you can rely on and fall back on for support, and who can help you, with those resources you might need to educate and inform other people on campus. But I've also found that one of the great things about Emory, as I mentioned, it's so multifaceted. People are always wanting to learn. And so at Oxford, for example, we held an Israeli Culture Day, and we kind of went back and forth on it. Do we want to do it? How do we want to do it? But ultimately, we got a lot of help from the Israel Fellow at the time, Anna from Hillel, and we were able to put on an event that a ton of students showed up to. We have had the opportunity to chat with them if they had any questions. We had a table where they could come up and either submit questions that we would answer later, or we could just talk with them on the spot. But I think that what's great about Emory is that it's a super diverse student body in so many ways, diversity of thought, diversity of opinion. But despite having so many different opinions on campus, people are not necessarily like siloing themselves or being steadfast in whatever they came in thinking before. They're really willing to challenge their beliefs and learn new things.
Great. Yeah, and I'll just quickly add what they both spoke about. It was really eloquently said. Hillel exists to be a resource and a support for Jewish students on campus. So unfortunately, where there are campuses that don't have a Hillel, a lot of students really don't know how to advocate for themselves or who to go to in administration when they're running into such issues. And that's why we're here. So if and when students run into any sort of anti-Semitic issues, they come to us and we can be their advocates on campus. We have a wonderful relationship with many different departments and administration in the university that we can be our students' advocate. That being said, I wouldn't categorize Emory as being a challenging campus as others are across the country. Some of the anti-Semitic issues we run into are at the cross-section of Israel programs, but we don't really have a sentiment of students feeling unsafe on campus. I think students feel generally proud to be Jewish, proud to be a part of the community, and very comfortable doing so. So that's, I think, how we kind of tackle that and what the feeling is on campus.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I want to thank you, our awesome presenters, for giving us a very informative hour. I want to thank everyone who joined the call today. And just to give you a little update about our upcoming events, we don't have anything on Sunday like we usually do, but on Monday at 5, we have our info session with UVA, and Tuesday at 5, we have our info session with the University of Alabama. There also will be a feedback survey that will pop up after you close the webinar, so make sure to fill that up so we can get some helpful feedback. If you didn't ask a question now, you want to ask it later, please ask Eli on our Instagram at JumpSparkATL, and head to roadtriptocollege.org to sign up for more sessions and learn more about our road trip. Also head to our YouTube channel because all of our sessions are being recorded there. So if you missed anything, you can go watch them again. Thank you all for joining and have a great afternoon.